Dan, thank you. And our coverage on this week's police-involved shooting in Hinsdale continues tonight. The Berkshire DA holding a press conference today to explain where things stand in that investigation. Western Mass News reporter Matt Price was there. He joins us now live in studio with more. Matt?
Chris, that press conference taking place in Pittsfield today. Berkshire District Attorney Timothy Shagru was saddened about what took place earlier this week. He revealed the identity of the civilian who was tragically killed in this officer-involved shooting, one that has left the small community and much of Berkshire County shocked.
The officers are devastated. They're upset. Everybody was in the room is getting mental health treatment themselves right now. There's a very volatile, difficult situation. Everybody feels horrible. This is a terrible tragedy, and it affects them gravely.
Shagru telling reporters in a press conference what law enforcement and others are feeling in what has been a difficult week for the small town of Hinsdale. On Friday, more details were released into what led to Wednesday's officer-involved shooting. According to the DA, the man who was killed that day was 27-year-old Biagio Colville of New York. Shagru says Colville reportedly expressed paranoid and delusional thoughts with the FBI's National Threat Operations Center and on social media, as well as to his family and law enforcement. Officials say Colville felt he was being monitored by both law enforcement and organized crime. At about 10 o'clock Wednesday, Hinsdale Police Chief Sean Boyne, along with other officers, responded to 53 off South Street after multiple 911 calls were made by Colville. After trying to reason with Colville, officers decided to break into a first-floor bedroom. A struggle ensued with Colville, who was holding a gun. We should note Colville did have a license to carry, but officers were told at the time that he did not have a weapon on him. During the struggle, Colville's gun went off, hitting Hinsdale Police Sergeant Dominic Krupe in the hand and Chief Boyne, who was wearing a bulletproof vest, in the chest. A taser was discharged on Colville twice before another officer fired their weapon.
When the effects of the taser diminish, he again becomes agitated, stating, "Kill me, kill me." The taser is deployed a second time.
Sergeant Krupe was accidentally shot in the elbow before another bullet struck Colville, who died from his injuries at Berkshire Medical Center. Chief Boyne was released from the hospital later that day, while Sergeant Krupe is still undergoing treatment. Both officers' injuries are non-life-threatening. The DA says incidents like these in his county are rare.
It's not common at all. It's very uncommon, and I think that as time goes on, the more we educate, the community, and we educate all of us about mental health, the more we deal with the mental health issues.
Shagru says Colville was not getting the proper help he needed, while saying his area does not have enough workers to assist with mental health concerns.
They don't get paid enough. We need more, and unfortunately, that's a big problem. And we're trying to address that. We need to get more people in the mental health field here, because I know his family had struggled with him having mental health, and they tried to get services.
It's a sad story all around. Both injured officers are expected to make a full recovery. Shagru says if you know anyone who's dealing with anything mental health related, you are asked to reach out to any hotlines or other resources so those people can get the professional help that they need. More information on hotline numbers can be found on our website, westernmassnews.com. Among them are the suicide prevention hotline. You can call 988 for that. There's also the Massachusetts Behavioral Health Helpline, and you can call or text 833-773-2445. Super important, so that way those dealing with something can be okay. Reporting live in the studio, Matt Price, Western Mass News.